So that should, we are audio live now, not all the rest.
Cool.
Oh, I think actually it went live before I started the pre-stream, so my webcam's on. Testing. All right. Good evening, everyone who is joining us for State of the Cinema 2021, where we reflect upon the amazing year that was 2020. Gabriel, how are you feeling? Great. You had a great year. I had an amazing year.
I think everybody had an interesting year.
There will be we will say no more about 2020, and that will be the end of that. I need to figure out where all my files are before we start, so I just need a minute. Here we go. Q4 reports, then presentation, which is on a PDF, and then I'm going to make some announcements to our general staff, as well as make an announcement in the announcements channel. Just want to check, can you guys speak for a minute? I want to see if it picks up on OBS.
Testing.
Yeah, okay, looks like that's picking up. To the live stream audience, if you are not hearing our wonderful directors and Zankoas, let me know, because we had a situation a few live streams back where I talked for half an hour and nobody realized that I was supposed to be in a video call, so I was responding to people.
Very cool.
Yeah, it must have been a very strange live stream to watch. So we are live. State of Cinema is back. Join us live to learn more about the financial aspects of cinema and our plans for 2021. You know, my girlfriend said I have the loudest keyboard. The loudest. It's we both work in this room now, same room, because of the home working.
Yes.
And it's getting difficult to like mix and match all the meetings that we're doing with, like, you know, typing noise and everything's going on. Absolutely wonderful. So to our concurrent viewers, welcome. Let me know if anything sounds off in the audio. You should be hearing some music, soft, gentle tunes on the background, as well as our wonderful directors and Zankoas. You know, typing noise, and looks like that's all right. Let's start the stream in 1 minute or so. You guys good?
Yeah, sounds good. Do I sound alright?
You sound excellent.
Yeah.
Lovely.
How are things over on your end, Zank?
Pretty good. Currently working from home and have been for a while, so it's it is what it is, right?
Yeah. I mean, it's in many ways it's like the new normal. I think people have settled into the whole COVID situation in Belgium. So we finally found the solution to lockdown, which is we simply do not stop lockdown ever. We just keep lockdown going. So we've been under basically the highest level of COVID restriction that Belgium has, which is, I mean, basically don't leave your house, right? That's basically what it comes down. Like you cannot leave your house unless like it's for something important. You can see one extra person outside of the household. Yeah, basically whatever lockdown is. I think the one big difference we have now is that the shops are open. I'm not sure how's that in the UK.
We've had non-essential shops all closed, so aside from like supermarkets and stuff, yeah. It's all locked down.
That's probably the best thing, because I think the closure of non-essential shops is actually not a good thing, because it sort of crowds people into less shops, and then it creates these weird situations where, you know, we'd have like large hobby stores, chain stores, which then would be allowed to stay open, but then a smaller, you know, hobby store wouldn't be, and you know, just a lot of weirdness in trying to figure out what is essential and non-essential. I just don't think that's a good way to do lockdown. I think it's a confusing way, and I think the more sane solution is just to say, you know, only all stores stay open, bars closed, you know, events closed, all that stuff. That seems to be working for us right now. And obviously, like social distancing, mouth masks, all that fun stuff. Alright, I'm ready to draw us online. I'm not sure, I think I can put a screen share on this Discord as well without blowing it up. I'm gonna try it out.
Famous last words.
I am sharing monitor 1, which you should see right now on the Discord screen. And then I am going into...
Yep, you can see that.
Okay, then I'm going to Lumix full cam. There we go. Good afternoon, good evening to everyone. Welcome to our State of the Cinema financial live stream 2021. So this is reviewing the 4 quarters of 2020. We want to look into how the year was financially from a business side, as well as, you know, how the budgets we've gathered and the money we get from Patreon, webshop contributions, merchandise basically feeds into the projects we're doing and the content we're creating, as well as just some high-level creative discussions with Zankoas from the Kaiserreich dev team, Flamefang, also Kaiserreich dev team, and Kaiser Cat Cinema director, and short film director Jordan Penelle, all joining us tonight. So thank you all for being here. I know it's a hassle to get to find some time to stay in the house nowadays, but I think dark humor is the only humor we have left, guys. So let's go with that. Let's go with that. Welcome everyone. I am going to put my screen share up so the live stream audience can see, and what I have up here, this image. This is our financial report Q1 2021. Need to make sure I can get it a little more. Here we go, center frame. You guys can see that as well. Basically, I went in, checked all our Excel sheets, all our YouTube stuff. I have compiled the numbers, put it in a nice little infographic. I will post this to Reddit, all the social media channels we have in a minute, once this live stream is over. I suggest we just go by these numbers from in reading direction, top to bottom. I think that's probably the most sane. So
yep, makes sense.
This financial report is the first one, which covers a full year. It starts in Q1 2020, ends on Q4 2020. I think the difference with last year is that last year the web shop only launched in late February, March, so there was actually no sales from that first period. So the biggest revenue source, and this is a big impressive number, but it's going to get a lot less impressive once we go down sort of the balance sheet. That is $158,900 of webshop sales. The exact number, like these are rounded numbers, the exact number is like $158,997.24, some weird number. It's not super relevant to us. That is a 22% increase over last year, with the caveat that last year the webshop was only open for 3 quarters, and now it's open for 4 quarters. So I want to say that is not an increase, it's just the webshop being open for a longer period of time. So fun statistics, 215,601 store visits, that's 22% increase, so that's pretty in line. 70.7% of all customers place a second order, which I think is great, so that means we have a very strong amount of people, you know, who buy something once and come back and be like, hey, this was cool, I like the service, and I think generally our reviews have never gone below 4.5 stars, so I'm really happy with the way we've been able to run the webshop this year. Average product rating 4 to 5 stars, 3,162 orders placed this year, an impressive amount. Top products, that's pretty much unchanged from last year. So stickers are new this year, we sold a lot of stickers. Kaiserreich shirt and the Union State flag, as well as the German Kaiserreich poster. The second line of income would be Patreon. That is, I call that YPM. YPM, yes, YPM income. So that means YouTube, Patreon, and music. Basically, Patreon, I think most people will know, is a service which allows people to give us a monthly contribution in exchange for a few perks. In the case of our Patreon, it's called the Back the Attack program, which at lower perks gives you access to behind the scenes Discord channels, you know, work in progress pictures. Once you go up the tiers, you get cameo spots in the Divided States animatic. If you go up further, you get a bunch of free merch, permanent discounts, you know, all that fun stuff. We're currently considering adding even more tiers, which would feed into some kind of democratic system of organization, which I have not found the time yet to fully develop. So we're currently holding off on releasing new tiers before I feel we have the correct amount of perks to back that up, because that is where we get into actual, like, fairly considerable contributions, like $50 a month, $75 a month. So I wanted to make sure that by the time we launch that, we have something really considerable for those people who are really excited for the projects we do and really feel like, hey, I want to support you guys doing this creative content, that we have something like substantial for them to enjoy. So $7,170 of patron revenue. That is a 500% increase. So thank you guys for all the patrons watching and listening. So that's a 5-fold increase. We went from $200 patron a month to we're currently over 1,000. We've been around 900 for most of the year. Ads and music plus 103%. So that is doubling. Still, these are fairly low numbers. So you're not going to get rich off YouTube ads. Maybe some people do, but for us, it barely covers the cost of a single video. So I'm not probably wouldn't put a second lease up on that. So then we scroll down, we get into expenses. So basically, what we do is we take 25% of all webshop profits and we give them to Kaiserreich. So Kaiserreich revshare is actually part of this first line of expenses. The big one here, and this is where almost all the money immediately goes away. That is the fulfillment, which is basically actually buying the product that we're selling to you. We have to have it printed. So t-shirt comes in, someone pays $15, $12 go immediately back out to transaction costs, running the web shop, and the printer basically. So that is that 105,350 number. Fulfillment, we use 2 partners, T-Launch and Printful. Very happy with them, so I think we will continue to use their services. They're definitely not the cheapest Printful. I think you can find higher margins, but I feel it's more important for us to have a good service, and especially with print on demand, I think it's difficult to find good delivery times, and I think Printful and T-Launch are really trying hard in when you buy something, it doesn't take 4 months to get there. So they've been even within the peak season, and it's been a very weird year in terms of postal with the COVID pandemic. They've still managed to send packages within reasonable amounts of time. There was this period in March where things got really weird, airports were shutting down and stuff, and then we have some people who had to wait 2 months, 3 months for their package. So luckily that was only a small amount of orders, and I think we've figured out that bottleneck by now. By the way, guys, live chat, I'm chatting to our directors and Zankoas right now. If you guys have questions, don't hesitate to put them in live chat. I will get to them once we get to the bottom of this little infographic. So transaction costs, this is a spicy one. This is basically going straight to big tech, and that is unfortunately the cost of selling things on the internet. And this is really a large part of your margin that just goes into PayPal, And this is unfortunately how the rich get richer. They control all the platforms and all the assets, and we simply have to pay a tax to them, as well as the government. So we have $6,300 of transaction costs for Stripe, for the credit card carrier. Another $3,000 for Shopify itself. That is about 25% of the remaining margin after fulfillment. And then we get into basically the content marketing and the costs we're making at Kaiser Cat Cinema to make the content. $12,900 in webshop content and marketing. So that is buying stuff for the actual webshop. And let me just say hi, everyone. Don't hesitate to ask questions. Webshop content marketing budget is some total of, includes licensing, all the stuff we bought. We're commissioning artists, Rusty Business and stuff to make maps for us. As well as we did a little bit of Facebook advertising in the beginning of the year. We spent $2,000, but I stopped doing that as I wanted to keep those budgets in Kaiser Cat Cinema for making content. I still think it's more valuable than doing traditional marketing, Facebook, Twitter, all that stuff. Spicy is operational deficit, so that means my company went into deficit this year. So normally I would run 2 companies. I would run a client's graphic design business, concept art, that would make money. I would live off that money. Unfortunately this year, all those clients are gone. The pandemic hit that really, really hard. And so now there's an extra $20,000 costs, plus I drew a $12,000 wage this year to keep myself afloat, and that is actually enough for me to live off. A very minimal income. And I'm actually very happy that we reached that number, because I think halfway through the year I said, we'll see if I can pay myself a wage this year. I'm not sure. I don't want to put the cinema in too much of a deficit for that. I don't think it's that important. But I managed to go for a minimum wage, and still at the bottom of this infographic, we're going to find out that the end sum is $1,000, $1,500 deficit, which is not too bad, all things considered. So web shop increasing, patron increasing, unfortunately costs also massively increasing. Kaiserreich revshare, so we're sending $3,860 back to Kaiserreich. I've donated that to the Kaiserreich holding account right now, Zankoas. We spent, I think, 650 euros this year buying DLC packs for the rest of the crew.
Yeah, that's correct. And as you said, that we also had the free merchandise for developers.
We actually didn't have. I think we had at most one Kaiserreich developer pulling free merchandise this year. We're asking for it. Last year we sent quite a bit, so you should let the team know that if they want that free merchandise, they can still pull it off the Kaiserreich account.
Yeah, definitely. We should probably do another push for that. We've done quite well.
Yeah. All right. So once we take all these numbers, we detract them from each other, then we get the remaining profit is the YouTube budget, right? So we're spending 100% of what we have left. That is $12,100. Not included is the $12,000 of wage allowing me to work full-time on Kaiser Cat Cinema. So that is why this is a fairly low number, but that actually means there's one full-time person on top of this budget. So this is the budget that is going to external teams. It's going to Jordan, it's going to Gabriel, and everyone who's working on the products on the web shop, and the people who are making the video content, all the free stuff we're putting on YouTube. So once we get into budgets, we really have 4 large pillars that we're looking at going into 2021. So we have Divided States. Jordan, that's you. Movie, I think we spent somewhere between 8,000 and 10,000. We're going to spend a little bit more because we need to submit to festivals. We're doing a bit of promotion for that as well to get known in the network. Then we have World of Kaiserreich in motion. That includes nights in Shanghai, some of the commissions we did trying to get more World of Kaiserreich. There was a lot of Asia-focused content this year, and then 2021, we're going to look more at Europe, Russia, France. I talked a bit about the World of Kaiserreich that I want to do, so I'm talking to Osar right now, who will be doing the next World of Kaiserreich illustration. He is going into the military, so we're gonna try and get one finished before he leaves us, and see maybe he can get a second one finished, but I'll keep you guys posted on that front. Music, we spent about $4,000 on original music covers this year. I think music is very interesting for us because it solves a lot of problems with one project. We have original music for the animatic and the short film that we can use. We have music streaming. We actually have an income. It's included when you go up. It's included in the Patreon for now. Oh no, ads and music. It was $500 income on the Spotify music streaming, which isn't too bad considering we're not spending that much on music, all things. So the music makes more money than, if we look purely at advertising from views and stuff, the music actually makes more proportionally than anything we put on YouTube, which is quite interesting, I think. Final item would be the documentary. This is a large project. I'm looking to expand that in next year because a lot of people are. I'm getting messages pretty much every other day, like when's the next documentary episode coming? When are we going to talk about France, Russia? I think people definitely want to see the long form content that we do. I think we have a really good team for that as well. Awesome narrator. So one of our main objectives, I think 2021 will be, the entire Kaiserreich timeline as a full cinematic narrative documentary series, and I think it's going to be a great point of entry for people getting into Kaiserreich to be like, hey, what's Kaiserreich? Watch this series of videos, and then that series of videos links naturally into the World of Kaiserreich series, talking about not necessarily what the lore of a certain nation is. World of Kaiserreich, I've always considered World of Kaiserreich more of how does it feel to play a certain nation, more personal perspective, a little bit more propaganda, something you would watch before you start up a game. Like it's not really a trailer, it's not really a lore piece, it's somewhere in between that. Putting all of these things together, our starting budget in 2021 is a $4,100 deficit. One thing that I need to note here is that actually we started, and I haven't added this on this infographic yet, I should before I send it out. We started this year with a $3,500 surplus over from last year. So that actually means that the deficit isn't that bad, right? So that is like $600 deficit. Considering I am drawing a wage, which I didn't do last year, I worked for free. It's a small wage, but it's still, I think all in all, our financial situation considering the pandemic and everything that's happened this year, I would say not great, not terrible. And it's definitely, we're looking at 2021 to see like what happens when the world and the economy normalizes. Like, what does that do for us and for our budgets? Because as you guys can see, even though we sell a lot on that web shop, a lot of that just goes straight back out to, you know, operational costs. And I would love to get more contributions on Patreon, because that goes straight into the budget that we can spend on shows. And I would like to have more teams working parallel to create shows and create content, because that's, you know, that's where I would say our soul is as a cinema, and what we want to do, or what we want to contribute to the Kaiserreich community. Any thoughts, guys?
Well, I can definitely agree that we should really focus hard on the documentary content. I'm going to say that partially as somebody who's been involved in writing it, but also I think it's really valuable actually for the Kaiserreich team as well, personally, to have something that can serve it as a point of entry. I know a number of people have actually said to me in the past, like, why don't we have some kind of entry video or like promotional teaser or something of that kind on the actual Kaiserreich workshop page, because right now we just have like some, you know, World of Kaiserreich videos and like a couple pictures. So I hope that maybe we can use these documentary videos to serve as something a bit like that.
Yeah, that makes sense. I think a lot of what I want to do when Kaiserreich, like when you guys reach that point where you say, you know, this is Kaiserreich version 1, you know, we've reached the point where all these reworks are done and we've found some sort of crystallized version of what we want Kaiserreich to be, is make like the highest budget, most ridiculous, sexy trailer for Kaiserreich, like the Kaiserreich trailer. And it should look like a Hearts of Iron trailer, like it should look just as good. And I think it would be really cool to do and really solidify that idea of like, you know, Kaiserreich is the highest quality type of mod, free stuff you're going to find online. Passion project, spent 20 years on it. It should look like something that's been 20 years in the making. How do you feel about that, Flame?
I mean, that would definitely solve the problem I just mentioned. I think it'd be great.
And I think that in the future, once we have that larger web of content referencing each other, you can get stuff like, you know, you start with a trailer, you get into the documentary to like really get a grip on the lore and have it, see it fully written out. Like maybe you go into the wiki, you do a bit more reading. Then you have World of Kaiserreich videos, the motion comics. Then you get into like specific stuff, you know, the series. I would love to do books. I've said this, I say this every year. I haven't started that project yet. I'm still looking for a writer. I'm also looking for a budget, because as you can see, we're pretty tapped out on all we're doing right now. So I see Kaiserreich, you know, the way I see something like Warhammer, which has like so much lore, so much factions and stuff written in that, and then a lot of Kaiser Cat Cinema is just, you know, finding the things that are in there and bringing them out, so people can see, like, you know, this is Shanking, this really, really niche faction in China, has so much, you know, history behind it. You know, you go and play Legation Cities, you're playing this really awesome crime drama played out through focus trees. Like, I don't even know probably more than 8% of what Kaiserreich has as a mod. So I think that we can do this for a long time and never be truly done developing the world of Kaiserreich.
Yeah.
Jordan, I would like to hear from you. Like, what are your plans for 2021, especially in terms of, you know, the divided states? What are you looking for budget-wise?
Yeah, so I mean, obviously the film we did last year was a big project, and ideally we'd be able to do another one this year. Just due to circumstances, mainly budgeting and also not knowing what we are going to end up doing, we're probably gonna keep it around the same scale. We wanted to do something bigger, but it just seems like that's not going to work out just because of world circumstances. So we're definitely gonna lean into just following one of the characters and doing a story of that. And then in the meantime, we had this idea of doing kind of another World of Kaiserreich divided states, like remakes of the Civil War factions in live action of the World of Kaiserreich series, just because it's kind of an interesting, different take on it, and it's something we can do here because the live action team is mostly USA based. We want to kind of emphasize that and make the divided states sort of quasi a live action thing with a lot of the animatic sort of also partnering with that. So mostly we're going to be working on a Strife sequel and then World of Kaiserreich live actions.
Okay, so I think in terms of budget, we're looking at the same numbers and hopefully slightly more. I'm really not sure what like we can spend this year.
Yeah.
Because, and I think a lot of people, some people in comments have asked this question, like, do you know, like, what would it have been without COVID? I mean, we don't know that, right? There's no 2020 without COVID, like, that is the thing. I hope that we're going to see, especially people who want to contribute right now, but are holding on to that money because, you know, maybe they lost their job, maybe their own situation is difficult. Once we see, like, the economy return to some state of normality, that we will see more people coming into Patreon, more people coming into donations for Kaiser Cat Cinema, and that is going to go straight to these budgets that we're setting up. But for now, I think, you know, survival is good. I think survival is like, we shouldn't, there's no need to rush ahead. If we're surviving this difficult time as like a new, basically an organization and a team that started doing a really difficult thing, like doing creative stuff, and then putting it out there for free, like we do not monetize that. That is all the money we get is a donation. So that is a very difficult thing to do. And I think the fact that we managed to do this in a COVID situation is actually an enormous Herculean feat.
Yeah, absolutely. It is our biggest challenge because movies in general are generally unprofitable, but if you're not even going to try and profit off the movie directly, it's even harder.
I mean, I think the reason I talk about money is because money is like fuel, right? Money is the electricity. It keeps us going. And the only thing that we're interested in really is we want to do more of this because we love doing what we do. But obviously we need, and I'm gonna pull up a presentation that I have prepared for everyone to give you an idea of like what these things cost that we put on the channel, for example. You guys are on share screen, so you should be able to see this image right now. So we're gonna start with Strife, for example. So Strife, how many people did you have on your team, Jordan?
I would say in total we had around 20, 24, give or take.
Okay.
And yeah, I mean, it was mostly just 1 or 2 person departments. I think our biggest department was camera with 3 people. So I mean,
makes sense.
It's not a big team, but yeah, it's mostly about effort and again money and what we have access to and getting access. Those are the biggest challenges for us.
I have the initial Strife budget, which we exceeded with about $1,000 or $2,000, I think, here, but it gives you an idea of what the breakdown is. Do you know how much we on average paid people that worked on Strife, like if we would aggregate both actors and crew?
So crew, we ended up, at first we were not paying. The only person people who were getting paid were the producers as part of their fee because they're from they're a different company. And then the actors who got paid the standard SAG-AFTRA day rate of $180 a day. And then afterwards, we ended up with a little bit of surplus just from what we pumped more money in and then for expenses. And then turned out, we didn't spend everything. So we had enough to give everybody a little thank you bonus.
That's excellent, actually.
Yeah. And then, so I mean, it depends. If we go with the same style of having these young up-and-comers who are just hungry for exposure, quote unquote, then not a lot. But if we do want to up our production value, we are going to have to start paying people, which adds expenses. But I mean, there are options, and I mean, there's always people who are going to be willing to work for less than if they are passionate about the project, like they were with Strife.
I'm actually glad that you found like people from your own circle, friends, Fool's family to participate on the project, because there are a lot of the crew that made this possible. and they worked for, as you said, they got basically what was left over on the budget that was divided across everyone, as well as, you know, the usual, they got crafty, you know, a day out. It's obviously not great. I'd prefer to pay everyone, but this is a $9,000 short film, and it's really the highest number that we can muster. Like there is no more money in the account after $9,000. Like that's literally the maximum amount of money that is in our account at any given time.
Yeah.
So we're going to focus on, you know, smaller productions and like make sure that we can have paid volunteers. In Belgium, there's a system of paid volunteership where it's like, you know, you get something for the day. It's not a lot, but it's gonna, you know, we'll cover your expenses. You're gonna get something extra. I feel like you're a valued part of this project. You're not just someone who comes in, does volunteer work. So we're very happy that everyone came in, and, you know, let's try and keep working with these people so they can grow together with the project Strive. So I'm going into the Strive budget right here. You guys can see it on my notes. These numbers weren't the final numbers, but it gives you an idea of what goes in. And actually you can see that most of the budget like goes into location. The rentals, the vehicles were like super expensive. Like I think the truck alone was over $1,000. So the truck costs more than 2 actors. That's not great, but that's just, you know, there's no way to get 1940s stuff easily.
That truck was in Fargo.
That was a Fargo truck, that's right. It does it does show you the difficulty of doing live action production in the way that you guys do, especially within that pandemic period. Because if you get a truck, now you need insurance for that truck, because, you know, what if something happens to the truck? That's an expensive vintage truck. It needs to be maintained, oiled by people. Like, it's a company that rents these. Like, there's so much stuff involved with every aspect of that. Which is why I prefer the animatic stuff. You know, I prefer, you know, being at home. Hey, lockdown, no problem. We'll just go home and make an animatic. Like if we want a scene in the animatic, which is, you know, 40 tanks doing a shootout over the Hudson River, no problem. We can draw that. It's not cheap as well. I'll get into the animatic budget as well, but it's easier than live action. But yeah, we really appreciate the work your teams did. We're looking forward to seeing what you guys are coming up with this year. So I have the art line open right now. Civilian wardrobe, you know, as you can see, we bought a bunch of wardrobes. The prop guns, which I think looked really cool. Then you have, obviously, there was food and drinks for everyone. You had 3 days of crafty for that 20-man crew. You need an equipment van, you need production costs, and you need your camera. Obviously, very expensive cameras, by the way. Like I think you guys shot on fairly normal cameras, I think. But if you look at an actual film camera, like that's a $25,000 camera. That's pretty crazy, right?
Yeah. So we shot. Well, thankfully, we still had a crew member who was in film school, and so they had access to the film school cameras, which are much nicer than what we would normally have access to.
Yeah,
they were shooting on, what are they, Panasonic EVA some number X, I don't know, but those are very nice 4K cameras, and yeah, that's what we shot on. And then we had a lot of lighting gear and stuff, and I mean, you can get those same results with less expensive gear, but it just kind of really elevates the look and the feel of the film to use nicer stuff, obviously. So in the future, we don't know what we're going to be using. We're going to try and get access to those similar cameras and lighting setups and whatnot, but we're going to have to be a lot more creative, definitely, and probably scale down a bit. But there are also some things that we can just kind of, I guess, recycle, especially in the props and costuming department, especially with what we want to do with the World of Kaiserreich live action like remakes for the Civil War. Thankfully, it all takes place in America, and everybody sort of dresses and wears the same things and uses the same things, so we can recycle a lot, and that's going to bring down costs a lot.
I think one of the reasons people ask me, like, why do we do so much America content? It's because the team is in America.
Yeah.
It's also really hard to find like the resources that you have where I live. For example, I live in the middle of nowhere in Belgium, which is not even a real country, according to rumors I've heard. So that is why we were seeing a lot of US content, because that is the costumes that we have for example.
There's also just a lot more filmmaking infrastructure. I mean, we worked very closely with the Illinois and Chicago Film Office, and just the industry here and networking and asking like, hey, do you know anybody who has access to this? Which there is less of that infrastructure around the world. And in America, it's easier to make things about America because, of course.
Well, I hope not in 21, but in 22, 23, I'm looking at doing a tour of the US, which will include, would basically be sort of 50-50 a holiday for me and the girlfriend, because she studied in South America, so we'd probably go to South America as well, do a bit of a tour of both continents. Go out, visit subscribers, but also like do a lot of work in meeting people for the divided states and connecting to that infrastructure that we have there. For now, unfortunately, Jordan, we must remain in our hidden bunker in a location, in an unknown location. All right, so I've got Paige here. I think it's just beautiful seeing our actors wearing mouth masks in their 1940s costume. It's so bizarre look we have on that. Here's a Fargo car, costs about $12.50. So it gives you an idea of like how difficult it is to get these vintage things. If we had like a modern day alt history, it probably would be easier to shoot live action. But it is what it is. Civilian wardrobe. Here's a bunch more costs. And then we ended up somewhere in 5,300 for your initial budget, but I think the final film was about 8,000. I think on top of that comes I spent a little bit of money working on the poster. I bought like these vintage photos of Chicago, which I added smoke and stuff, so it looks like it's burning. Really cool, dramatic key art. Now we're gonna spend a little bit more money to get it in festivals, and to go and talk to people. We're looking at Jordan, you, me, and the team doing a bunch of festivals both here in Belgium and in the US.
So one of the biggest problems we encountered is, so obviously Kaiserreich fans are going to be interested, but people who've never heard, maybe not so much. And our festival strategy is kind of hoping to alleviate that.
That makes sense.
Basically, we're just trying to get people in the industry to hear the name Kaiserreich and be like, oh, I've heard about that, because then they're more willing to help out and pitch in and maybe fund a bigger project, maybe. Which is what festivals are mainly about. It's about networking, and our goals, big dream, long term, 10 years from now, is Kaiserreich on a major streaming service, hopefully.
I mean, I would love. As I've always said, it's like the trifecta. We want books, we want comic books, we want series, animated, both live action. Like that is our big, hairy, audacious goal. I think I know for a fact that Kaiserreich is good enough as a universe to set all these wonderful stories, and now we want to tell these stories. Like I founded Kaiser Cat Cinema especially, like specifically for this reason. Like this is a machine that we built to make that a reality. So that is why we're having these conversations right now. Our second part of that is that we always want to have full control, creative control over the projects that we do. So we're always going to be the majority stakeholder in any project that has to do with the divided states or Kaiserreich, which is why we can use Kaiser Cat Cinema to fund things like this, and keep everything on one platform with a consistent tone of voice, and keep communications open with the Kaiserreich dev team, so we know that we're headed in the same direction creatively. Scrolling further down, here is the team at Dollington Farms. Jordan, what was that?
That was at Dollinger Family Farms in central-ish Illinois. Yeah. I'm not sure.
How long?
It's where we shot all our exteriors.
How long of a drive was that?
It was 3 hours from Chicago, I think. 3 hours, 3.5.
You guys drove like a column there, or?
I'm sorry?
Did you drive a column there? Military style?
No, we all drove separately, and the truck got delivered there before any of us got there.
Yeah. Okay. So it doesn't. They put the truck on.
Oh no, they have a trailer. Yeah, they had like a big trailer for it.
Yeah, so this shows you like how valuable these trucks are. Like, they do not drive this thing. They just they drop it off. You drive 3 minutes with that thing and then it's gone, you know, it's back on the trailer. And they clean it with a toothbrush. I need to answer Senior Watson for a minute. So he asks, what new kinds of merchandise are we planning on the store? So this year what I definitely want to do is have Kaiserreich black mugs. That is, I think, the hottest requested item. Maybe animal pins by the end of the year. We're still looking for a supplier for that, as well as 2 new US Civil War posters for July 4th. I think that's going to be like a yearly thing. 2 new posters for the July 4th sale. I'm not planning much more expansions, as I think our focus should be not necessarily on the commercial aspect of Kaiser Cat Cinema, but on the creative aspect. You know, the way we thrive as a community is to provide value and tell stories, not by, you know, creating more stuff we can sell. I think there's enough stuff on the web shop, you know, for everyone, for everyone's appetite. So, Flux asks, so that is a Kaiserreich mod question. When will Central Europe states like Bohemia and Hungary have focus trees? Zank, do you know?
I can't give a hard deadline.
Soon plus 2 weeks.
Modding being what it is, you know, we don't know. But I will say it's definitely a top priority in that it's one of the last, not quite major nations, but some of the large nations missing content. It'd be really nice if by the end of 2021 we hit our goal of every starting nation having a focus tree, and among the missing ones, Bohemia and Hungary definitely stick out quite badly.
Wonderful. So going into the divided states, and I want to wrap this up quickly because I would like to talk a little bit about the mod at the end of this live stream. But divided states, Animatic has its own budget problems because the scope of that is so big. It not necessarily has the same problems that Jordan has, the practicality of it, because, you know, it's a work from home project, which is good considering the situation. So here I have a frame from first episode, which is a car chase scene, which I'm working on in Blender. We are buying, for example, these assets. So let's go down. So here you can see that scene play out in Blender. It's actually really cool to make illustrations or a show like this. You know, we just map everything out. We're doing a lot of 3D work. We render frames and then those go to me or Quentin. So me and Quentin will be illustrating most of the shots. Then we animate that in After Effects, and that is how you make a show. The problem here is the fact that we have so many frames to make. So for example, here's one. This frame, that car model costs $180 to buy. An illustrator that works on this is going to cost at least $175, so we're already in the $350 range for a single frame. All right, here it gets scary. So an episode of the Divided States, if it's 20 minutes long, would require at least 250 frames, and that is the absolute bottom. Why? Because that means one frame for 4 seconds. Have you ever looked at a single frame for 4 seconds? Like, it's gonna drive you nuts. We can mix and match a bit here, like by repeating frames, and that's probably what we're gonna do to keep it around 250. But if we do a bit of math, 250 frames, where every frame costs $250, that is a $62,500 budget for a single episode. So I put yikes here. So you can see how that's a problem. Now, it is not going to impact us that much because we simply do not have that money, first and foremost. Secondly, because I will be doing a lot of these frames. So generally, like, that is going to be put into the wage that I'm drawing from Kaiser Cat Cinema. I'm going to try and solo as much of this project as I can humanly can. Like, I'm doing frames non-stop. Like, I'm just going to be producing frames whenever I have a minute. I'm also pulling a few fast ones. So here we have a really cool model of Emily that I'm working on. We're using 3D to cut frame drawing time. We're trying to find basically render systems which allow us to render something which is really close to the final product, the final frame. And then we're just gonna go in, final touch-ups, go, you know, frame after frame. We need hundreds. Like, there's no like, you know, lovingly detailing each single frame in an animation like this. Like, our job is to just get this done. And I think that's an impressive project as it is. So here you can see Emily's, this is a temporary 3D model, but how it's been placed, where she should be in the frame, it's a 3D car model, some of it is a photo, and then we're just going to blur the whole thing, paint over it. That is going to solve some of our problems, but not all of our problems. On top of that comes, of course, animation, voice acting work. So here we have David and Amy working on audio production for the show. We need 250 frames of that. So as you can see, the animatic is a very, very ambitious project as well. So I think this year I'm not going to spend too much budget on the animatic, proportionally speaking, because I will try and do as much of the project as I can do solo. So it's going to be wrapped up in the wage that I'm already drawing from Kaiser Cat Cinema, which will free up more for the additional projects. Then finally, Flame, we come to the documentary, which is, you know, actually our cheapest project and our most impactful project that we have. So it's definitely something that we're looking to scale up. So we want like a really long amount of lore. It also allows us to take some budgets to make maps from all the world of Kaiserreich aspects. So here we have, you know, this is not Rusky's map, by the way. This is, we have 2 or 3 mappers. I need a minute. He does most of the maps, but we also have a couple others helping us out to do maps, both which you can buy on the web shop and are also used as plates in our documentary series, you know, so you get these nice cool zooms. It's Red Leather, so this is Red Leather's map. Then we need to animate them. As you can see, I discovered this cool effect that we can put on top of them. I bought a few After Effects assets. That's all in that, you know, initial budget. And then, you know, we put that out. We mix it with the documentary footage that we can find on the free domain, which is fairly easy because World War I has a lot of free footage. It's generally not the best quality, but we have a thing for that. We bought a license to Gigapixel AI, which does what you see on this screen. It basically upscales a picture. So it's really good to take like low resolution photos and then, you know, create something out of them, animate them. So we will have an extra animator on the documentary project, and then I'm going to ask Carly Jordan from your team to also help out on the animation when she's not editing live action. So then we have the final World of Kaiserreich series, World of Kaiserreich painting. We're bringing Hussar in to help us with that. And continuing the series, obviously I think people want to see more of Europe. That is going to happen. It's among our highest priorities right now. Finally, we have the motion comic series, which we also want to continue. These will be, Flame, you call this project interlude, because it's sort of intended to come in between larger releases and tell smaller stories within the world of Kaiserreich. I would love to see continuation of this series. I think it was really cool. It's unfortunately not our best viewed series, probably one of the worst. But creatively, I think we need a series like that, like the small stories in the world of Kaiserreich, very niche countries. I think it's very interesting to see. So I think we need to give that project more oxygen. So this art is outsourced. This is Sari Manko who helped us. We're going to see if we can work with him again to make more, or ask Conta. So that is the end, basically, of an overview of, you know, the budgets that we're considering for 2021. I want to thank everyone who is watching this. And if you like the content that we do, don't forget to back the attack. That you can support us on Patreon, but it doesn't have to be money. Like, supporting us can also mean, you know, just telling a friend about Kaiser Cat Cinema, who then also tells a friend. That also means a lot to us. So thank you guys if you are supporting us already. And we hope to see you, you know, swing by for live streams, see what's going on behind the scenes. Especially, I look at these sort of live streams, which are not necessarily the most interesting ones. This is really where, you know, where we talk about, you know, how can we add practicality to the projects that we do. And I think that's really important, that we have, you know, a sense of realism. What can we do, what can't we do, and that we set these goals and then work towards them. So thank you all for joining. Finally, Zank, I would like to turn it over to you and, you know, talk about what your plans are with the mod in 2021. Like, what's the, you know, you have a rough idea of things you guys want to release this year, places you want to work on?
Yeah, I can talk about a few things. I guess I'll start with the revenue share and what we're hoping to do with that. So, as we said earlier, in the past we've had 3 uses for it. One is covering expenses for ParadoxCon. That was obviously a great event, and we've met a lot of people there, and it's nice to meet up as the team as a whole. So that's been really useful. We've used it for getting DLC for team members, which has really helped some people that struggle to afford it. As you might imagine, a lot of us are students or were students, and so it can really help out there. And we've used it for some free merch, which is a really nice way of saying thank you for the team. And so hopefully we'll continue that in the future. We've also considered getting and commissioning some art for specifically for loading screens. We've used a lot of stuff from Vincent, who's also been very kind in sharing some amazing art there. And we've also found some art online. But being able to create our own piece would be really nice. And then maybe we can let Vincent use some of it in his own work. So it's a nice mutual benefit there.
Yeah, I would love to. Like, if artists create loading screens with certain nations, we could include them in the World of Kaiserreich video. It goes both ways. We could also, as I said, I've given you guys a library of the divided states art, which includes a lot of environmental pieces. But then that is like a very heavily Second American Civil War focused, of course. And you probably want stuff that is 1919 to 1936, Europe, Asia, the places we don't visit that often.
Yeah, and ideally getting out of particularly Europe and North America, we've got a lot of stuff focused there. So it'd be really nice to get some pieces like in the Middle East, Eastern Europe, South America. It'd be nice to give some art and attention to those areas. The other thing we've been considering doing is commissioning some music. So we tend to switch up the music we play when you load up the mod each patch. So getting something custom made for that would be quite nice. And again, kind of thing that we can then share back and might get used in an animatic or something.
Yeah, makes sense.
As for projects outside of the revenue share and what we're doing for the mod, I think big goals would be finishing up some of the reworks for nations that already has content, but it's old content. So for example, we've got a Germany rework going on. Germany's obviously got a focus tree and got plenty of content. There's also some of the older in the mod, and it's given it's one of those populations. It'd be really nice to give them some love. Same with some of the other major nations. And finally, as I answered earlier to a prior question, there's a few nations left around the world which don't have focus trees. Central Asia, Austro-Hungarian Empire. So completing it and just having the entire starting map covered in focus trees would be a really nice touch. And probably if we're going to ever pick a version to be 1.0, it feels like it'd be when that final nation gets a focus tree.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Which would be an amazing goal. Though no promises that 2021 is the year. We probably thought it would be in 2020, but here we are.
Yeah, I mean, things are done when they're done, right? So I think generally we have a very, I think there's a habit of over promising, especially on the terms of deadlines. I don't think that's healthy. You see that in the gaming community a lot, right? You see that, for example, Cyberpunk 2077 was a good example of that. Trying too much at once and then putting deadlines too tight, and then these games get delayed. I think it's better to just be, reasonably vague about the deadline and then, surprise people when it does.
Yeah, definitely. Particularly since we're doing it in our free time. We're doing this for fun. None of us are paid. So the idea of forcing people to crunch is just insane.
Yeah,
particularly since for a passion project like this, we make our best work when we're enjoying it and we're able to work during times and work when we feel it. Some days you just don't want to mod and some days you do. So
yeah, that makes total sense. For Kaiser Cat Cinema specifically, a lot of us are paid, so we do go my thing is I tend not to put deadlines on the team, but when I feel a project drags on too long, it's where I will probably add a little bit more pressure then, because I feel if we don't set some kind of window for that can be a reasonable window, that projects tend to be in limbo for a long time and we tend to lose interest, and that's sort of a dangerous thing, to lose the creative spark sort of that launches a project. So that is why you need some kind of time from conception to completion, which is fairly reasonable. I'm seeing that with the animatic as well. It's hard for me to maintain the same level of passion as that I had once I started. Now my passion goes up and down. It's pretty high right now, but especially at the tail end of the trailer, it was really it was the 1500 viewing of the audio editing, of the montage, and honestly, I still don't think it's that good of a trailer, the animatic. I had this whole idea of, it's going to be so impactful, and watching it now, it's it doesn't really land. It tells the story, it's good enough, but, we spent so much time on that trailer, man. Oh my god, so much time for one trailer. So if you're never ready to, sometimes you just gotta release a project, or it's gonna get stuck in limbo and you'll be there forever. I think also this year is really interesting because it's the first year I think that we don't meet and hang out at PDXCon. I think that was generally a really great time for Kaiserreich team to come together, talk about stuff. So now we are here on Discord, just floating panels on a screen. What a wonderful metaphor for this year this was.
I think you make an interesting point about having to release stuff though, because I think we have one blessing which you don't, is that we can release content, and if we're not happy about it, there are some bugs, the balance isn't quite right, we can just iterate on that content. Whereas ultimately at some point you have to pull the trigger, put the animatic out there, and it is what it is. So I think in that way, to release more frequently and get, be reactive to feedback.
Yeah, actually, I can totally redo a video. Like it's not a common thing, but I think that I've had that thought recently. Like the animatic, especially with the trailer, it's never going to be what I want it to be. It's just going to be the animatic that we can make, and I think we should just make a remastered version at some point, which is fully colored, new illustration, new audio, new animation, everything. I think that would be good for us, because then we're going to stumble in doing this new very ambitious project, and then we're going to learn things, and then we can basically, once we finish the project, we just go all the way we take it all the way from the top and do it better and better again. So it will be the remastered edition. Like we're never stop. We're just gonna keep making the divided states over and over. Jordan, you ready for this? Like strive 3 times.
Oh, I'm absolutely ready.
Strive 1, Strive 2, Strive 3.
Strive 3, Strive 3. It's actually Strive 1, but better. More actors, so we end up with that Too Many Cooks. You guys know that Too Many Cooks intro? It's a wonderful
Yes.
from Comedy Central.
Too many cooks.
Yeah, Too Many Cooks. Basically, more people on stage every single time we do this thing. More actors, just more storyline, more stuff happening. But yeah. So I think that brings us towards the end of this live stream. Are there things that you guys would like to add? Thoughts about this year, financially, creatively, what you would like to do next year?
I'd say one of my projects, hopefully for this year, in addition to all of my, Kaiserreich and KCC work, is to try and get the wiki a little more up to scratch. I've said this in the past, but I think we have a better team of editors now than we did at some prior points, and a better system for sort of soliciting feedback on their part from team members. So hopefully we'll be able to, keep increasing the quality, keep fleshing out what we have there. And I really cannot emphasize this enough, but the wiki is open for everybody to edit. It's not locked down in any way, really, except for a couple pages that have experienced vandalism. So, if you're a person interested in Kaiserreich, which you presumably are because you're here, feel free to, go on there, and if you see something in game that isn't on the wiki, put it in. If it's a piece of lore, because that's the way it's going to get done. Most of us who actually work on the team, we don't have the time to do that because we're putting our time into making the game. Or, some of us are even working on, we have jobs and we have other things to do. So if you have the time, if it's something that interests you, definitely give it a go. If you're really into it, you're an experienced, wiki editor or something, shoot me a message on Discord. We can talk about it. Yeah.
So as Flame said, we're looking for wiki editors. We're looking to expand the wiki. I hope to tie the wiki project, because I think that's one front where Kaiserreich could like really increase the way that people can find lore, is that we would tie that to the documentary in some capacity, and as well as I think we should do that fairly early in the first quarter of this year, a writing contest which has like merch prizes for that. Like we're definitely up for giving a bunch of merch prizes for people to write stuff for the wiki and generally get that project known. Or we could put some budget towards like getting an official wiki, Kaiserreich, worldofkaiserreich.com/wiki or something. And those are all options. I think Kaiser Cat Cinema and the budgets we have, it gives options to Kaiserreich.
Absolutely.
All right. So if you guys have any more thoughts before we log off?
No, not me.
Okay, I think I've said pretty much everything I want to say. So thank you all for joining us tonight for State of the Cinema 2021. I hope this gave you an interesting insight into how Kaiser Cat Cinema works and how we think about projects creatively going into 2021. So just to sum up, what we're looking at is we've had an increase of revenue. Patron revenue has been really good. However, obviously the COVID pandemic has hit us hard, and we are ending the year with a small deficit, but not big or dramatic. So I think I have a lot of confidence in Kaiser Cat Cinema going forward. I think we should stay the course this year, not dramatically expand, but also not cut costs. Like, we should maintain these budgets and try and get a little higher. And then we'll have to see, how Patreon contributions go, donations, web shop sales, and of course, before I forget, there is one more project which I hope will generate revenue, which can go into Kaiser Cat Cinema, is Flag Maker and Print. I've talked about this a bunch of times, I think. Let me switch to screen share for a minute. I'll show you guys. So I've started a new sister project, which is Flag Maker and Print. It allows people to create their own flags. I'm gonna have a small YouTube channel attached to it. I want to do a little bit of fun content, talking about flags. I'm very passionate about this. It's one of the things that got me into Kaiserreich, right? And I've noticed that a lot of people within Kaiserreich are also into all history, world building, and flag design. So I think this is a really cool segue for us to make. So if you guys want to check that out, Flag Maker and Print is in open beta right now. It allows you basically the same flag product as you get on Kaiser Cat Cinema, but you can design your own. We fully developed and designed this app with some of my friends, and we're looking forward to seeing your feedback. There's a Discord there, so join us if you would like to. All right, so confident going into 2021, and I think we should stay the course, and that is basically my thoughts, state of the cinema 2021. I will post the financial image on all the Reddits that I can find, Kaiserreich or Hearts of Iron or Paradox Plaza, as well as our Discord soon. And I look forward to having a conversation with you guys about, how we see 2021 and what you guys would like to see happen in Kaiser Cat Cinema this year and in the future. That is all. I want to thank you all for joining us, and we will see you for the next one, guys. So yeah. Gonna hold the stream for 5 minutes. Conversation with you guys about, how we see 2021 and what you guys would like to see happen in Kaiser Cat Cinema this year and in the future. That is all. I want to thank you all for joining us, and we will see you for the next one, guys. So yeah. Gonna hold the stream. There we go.